Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking why everyone loves a great weight loss story until you mention MOUNJARO. Weight loss medications, the weight loss jab, call it what you will. And I wonder, why are so many people embarrassed about admitting to losing weight this way? Yet so many people are coming out of the woodwork and trying it for themselves. So hello and thank you for joining me today. If you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Lisa. I've been taking weight loss medication, MOUNJARO, probably since, well, I have. I've been taking it since last July. July the 25th is when I started, and I'm nearly at the 3 stone mark. Before I took MOUNJARO, I used YouTube as a bit of a search to try and find out a little bit more information. It was relatively new, and I didn't actually know anybody who was taking it. Now, loads of people message me, send me messages, and, and I feel if I can kind of give back to that community and help and just tell you my experience and what I'm experiencing, then, I feel like I've done my little bit. Now, before I crack on with this video, honestly, it blows my mind how many people are watching these videos. I would just like to say thank you very much to everybody, because when you comment and when you like a video, it does help the algorithm and it helps other people to find my channel as well. This week, honestly, I've had people from Oklahoma, different parts of America, Australia, New York, and even people sort of like 20 minutes, half an hour away from where I live. So yeah, it just blows my mind that where people are actually watching from. So yeah, thank you very much. And I really do appreciate those thumbs up that you give me, because it really does help the videos find different new people. So let's dig into this stigma around weight loss medications, because it definitely is there. I experience this on a weekly basis, and it happened again today. And I was in an environment where there was quite a few people talking, maybe about 4 or 5 people catching up over a conversation, and somebody was talking about somebody else, and they said, oh, that person has lost 5 stone on the injections. And then there's kind of like this, oh, really? And then there's like, it's really difficult to explain. And I think there's a couple of things. It's like maybe they just don't know I think they might just think that people take the weight loss injection and then magically you just eat the same food and lose weight, and that doesn't happen at all. If you're taking this medication, you'll know that it totally suppresses your appetite and reduces the amount of food that you can eat. Now, we know, don't we, if we want to lose weight, we have to be in a calorie deficit, because you're not going to just keep eating the same amount of food that you normally eat and you just magically lose the weight. It doesn't happen like that. Now, I think part of the hype and the judging is due to the press. And you'll see certain celebrities who've gone to total extremes. And I think the weight loss injection, you might have heard of it called Ozempic, and that is slightly different, or Wegovy. You can get Wegovy in this country, but I think it's just become so popular now, the weight loss medication, that Wegovy is really difficult to get, and a lot of people are going on to MOUNJARO. In America, like I said, I think it's Ozempic. So I think there are certain celebrities who've gone to total extremes with it, but what you've got to remember is that news stories and newspapers, they are creating stories for hype, and they want people to click those links online, they want people to buy the papers, and the more dramatic that they can make these news stories, they're all in competition with each other to sell the stories. So I think the more dramatic they can make it, then the better. Now, years ago, there used to be this TV program in the UK in the morning called TV AM, and there was a lady on it called Anne Diamond. She had gastric band surgery, and honestly, the press went to absolute town with her and, saying it was kind of like cheating. And the poor woman had probably just got to the end of like her tether with it, and she just was trying anything. Now, I've got some friends who've done weight loss surgery, and believe me, this is not an easy solution at all. The problems that you can have from weight loss surgery as well, it's so difficult. Whatever route you go down to lose weight, you know, everyone has their own battles and it's not for everybody. You know, if slimming clubs worked for everybody, then they would join once, they would lose the weight, they would carry on with what they've learned, they would never regain the weight, and they would never have any problems. But the reality of it is that it does work for somebody, some people, and that is absolutely fantastic, but it doesn't work for everybody. And for me, slimming clubs didn't. They were maybe a small temporary measure, but in the long run, they didn't really change my habits. And I'm learning a lot with the weight loss injection about portion control, portion sizes, which for me in the past, a particular slimming group that I went to, they would just say, you can keep eating as long as you eat these 3 particular types of foods, which was protein, vegetables, and carbs. But the reality of it is that it's teaching you it's okay to keep eating big, where really, like I said, if you're wanting to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And that just didn't help me, because then when I fell off the rails and went and had a Chinese, I could still eat big. And you know, it just didn't work for me. Also, I feel like some slimming clubs sometimes get you into bad habits with things like saying, oh, it's all right to eat egg, chips and beans, yet it really goes against and contradicts everything that they're trying to teach you about a balanced diet. So yeah, I think the press can totally overhype this situation. Now, I know the weight loss injection isn't for everybody, and I know that people do have some complications. You know, I talked in my last video about diarrhea and how that affects me. Honestly, some of the comments, I'm like, I honestly cannot believe I'm talking about this in this video, and then like replying to people in comments. And it came about because people asked me about sickness. Now, I have never been sick when taking this injection, but the diarrhea occasionally gets me, and it's not all the time. But yeah, if you want to know about the diarrhea, then go and watch that last video, because I do talk about it a little bit. And I don't think there's an easy way to lose weight. You know, I've done slimming clubs probably for the best part of the last 14 years, well, 13 years, and I've done this weight loss medication for 8 months now, and this is what I feel is working better for me. It's not a long-term solution, but I have learned so much about my habits and the way I eat and how I am around other people and saying no to other people. I know that for me, some of my problems are other people placing food up for me and me accepting that as a portion. You know, me saying yes to people when they want to eat, when maybe I'm just not hungry, and I could either make a different choice, like just having a starter if we go out, or, you know, drastically reducing my portion sizes and really listening to my body. So yeah, back to the stigma, you know, and it's the opinions of people around us and then how that makes us feel. So I'm going to go back to this conversation this morning around these people talking about a weight loss injection. Now, I think there was, how many people were in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe about 5 or 6 people, including me. And they were talking about somebody else and their journey. And then it was like, oh, I suppose that's the easy way, isn't it? And then one of the other people said, well, actually, Lisa's taking it as well. And then this other person's face totally dropped and they kind of like looked at me and thought, oh my God. And I just said, well, you know, I've lost nearly 3 stone. And they just went, well, you don't look like you need to lose weight. And I just thought, yeah, but I've lost the weight, haven't I? And, you know, it's how you feel. For me, it was getting me down and I was feeling awful in myself. So yeah, you know, it's quite difficult sometimes, those conversations, and I openly talk about it with anybody. I don't mind people saying, you know, to other people, oh, Lisa takes it. You know, a lot of people do share my channel with their friends, or they know somebody who's on the same journey. So yeah, like I say, I openly talk about it and my struggles and how it affects me. In some of my early videos, I used to talk about the food and show the food that I was eating as well. I might go back to that. Let me know in the comments if that is something. Do you enjoy seeing the food that like I eat? Funnily enough, on holiday, we've just been to Singapore for a couple of nights and then on a cruise, on an NCL cruise. And I've got quite a lot of pictures on my phone of the food that I ate. Now, I did say no to a lot of food on that cruise, and desserts and starters. And I would say probably my food choices were very different to what I would normally have had. I was trying to make sure I ate lots of protein, eggs, steaks, salads. And while I did enjoy some starters and some desserts, when I had a starter, main course and dessert, I didn't feel great. I felt like, oh, just, when that feeling when you've eaten too much, and we call it a bit of a food coma, where you kind of go lie down and you just feel like, oh, I've just eaten too much and I wish I could take that back. And the thing I would say to you is, if you're early in your journey for Mounjaro or weight loss injection, or you're thinking about it, you do have to eat a lot slower, because all of a sudden you can feel like you're filled up really fast. So yeah, top tip there. So when I first decided that I was actually going to go for it, I had to obviously, well, I didn't have to, but I had those conversations with my husband and also my kids now. I talked about it with my daughter and, my parents, I was telling them about it. And a lot of people at first, if they don't know, it's kind of like, oh my God, really? And I think because it's a prescribed medication, like if you've got a heart condition and you have to have medication from the doctor, you would just accept that. If you've got to take medication for, blood pressure or something, it's like, oh, it's acceptable to just take that, totally acceptable, and if you suffer with headaches or you've got a pain, like me, I have really bad arthritis in one of my knees and my hands. So, quite often I will take paracetamol or ibuprofen for that pain. And, that's acceptable, but to take medication to lose weight, that's not acceptable for a lot of people. But you've got to remember that this is about you and how you feel. It's about your health and your life, and you've got to make that decision for you. And I did find it helped me having those conversations with people around me. And all those people now can see how it's worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I follow some people's journey on YouTube and they've had really poor experiences, really bad experiences, and they've stopped straight away. And that is their choice and their decisions. But for me at the moment, it's still working for me. So it's not that you don't have the willpower. It's not cheating. It's just how it is, and it's just what works for you. And it is real weight loss. So the other thing people say to me is, well, what happens when you stop taking it? Aren't you just going to put the weight back on again? But they would never say that to me if I was going to a slimming club. So there's lots of times people say to me now, well, I go to a slimming club. And I always like to chat to them and say, how's it going? How are you finding it? But one thing I would never say to them is, well, if you stop going, are you just going to put all the weight back on? I wouldn't dream of saying that to anybody. And I know with slimming clubs, so many people just go, I'm having the weekend off, or I'm going out and eating and drinking what I want. And that is where it didn't work for me, because I could just quite easily fall off, go back to my old eating habits and put the weight back on and just not follow the plan at all. With weight loss medication and injections, it doesn't work like that. Also, a lot of people think it's just one injection and that's kind of it forever. It's not. It's one injection once a week. But the big thing is, it's all about habits and changing those habits. So lots of people still take weight loss injections within the communities. They don't tell their friends and family. They're not telling anybody. And yet they still go to slimming clubs for help. But are those habits at slimming clubs really the right thing to do? Are they really going to teach them what they need to know? And I don't think so. I think it's totally different. But I think the more of us that talk about it, vlog about it, share our experiences with other people, then the more acceptable it's going to come over time. So try not to pay attention to those news headline stories where they're just trying to sell the papers. They're just trying to get you to watch. Don't be taken in by that news story. Also, when I was looking into this journey, I spoke to two people. One is, well, actually, they're both friends of mine. One is a GP, a practicing GP, And she's not my GP, she's just a friend. And she was somebody that I spoke to, oh gosh, probably maybe going back about 5 years ago, about HRT and the menopause. And she gave me lots and lots of great advice and help, and really helped me with that. And honestly, that was like a big game changer for me. And then also I ended up going out for dinner and sitting next to her in a restaurant and talking to her about the weight loss injection. And she really did put my mind at ease. And she was also saying that, you know, it's very good for people who have addictions, whether it's, you know, alcohol addiction, lots and lots of different addictions. So, you know, it is being used not just for weight loss. The other person I spoke to is a friend of mine who is a nurse, and she didn't really know much about it, in fact, only because the particular area she works in is cardiology, and she'd heard about it. She probably had a few friends that were on it, and then she did a little bit more digging around and investigative work, and she spoke to a few friends who she knew were on it. So yeah, I had quite a lot of conversations with her around it, and you know, all very positive. You know, both of these people never said to me at any time, do not do this. You know, they just said, you know, it is a medication. You know, try and follow the rules, as you know, not as much as you can, but follow the rules, you know, because a lot of people do sort of go off on tangents and do their own thing. And that has always been a big thing for me. So weight loss is really personal. You shouldn't feel like you've got to justify yourself to anybody else. And we really should be respecting people's paths to better health. We should be supporting people instead of shaming. And also, on a last note, I honestly don't mind people asking me questions about my journey. And I think it's a little bit like asking for recommendations. I think it's a little bit, now this is really weird, this one, using this as an example, but sometimes like when I'm thinking about things like, I'm like, oh God, yeah, that's a really good explanation or idea. And I was thinking about this when I was thinking about making this video. Now, when, you know, like if a new restaurant opens or something, you know, a few people might go like early days, and you might say, well, oh, what was that restaurant like? And then some people might say, oh, it was great, you know, like, and you might go and have a terrible experience. So this recently happened to me. I went to a brand new restaurant that opened last year in Southport, and it had a great reputation. It's part of a very small chain, and we had, it was actually our anniversary meal, and it was probably just before I'd started taking MOUNJARO, and we had the worst dinner. We had the worst experience. The service was awful. It was just absolutely horrendous. Now, one thing I won't do is I won't say where I went, and I would never publicly online, you know, slate this business. It was within the first 2 weeks of it opening, but our experience was absolutely shocking. The staff weren't awful. They just weren't trained. They didn't know what they were talking about. We were asking for recommendations, and it was an absolute poo show. It was dreadful, and to be honest, I don't think we'll ever go back. I don't think we'll ever go back. But since I know people who've been, and I, in person, if somebody's asked me, I've shared our experience of what happened, and you know, in fact, I've had family members who've gone back since, and they've said they had an absolute beautiful meal. So everybody is different, and everybody will have those different experiences. You know, we love going on holiday to Turkey. I know some people who absolutely do not like it at all and would not go for a variety of different reasons. But, you know, for us, we love going. And also, Lanzarote, I lived there for 16 years and I absolutely love the island. It's my second spiritual home. So yeah, I just love Lanzarote. I love the mountains, I love the smell, I love the beach. I just love being there. I just feel so at home when I'm there. Yeah, I know so many people who don't like it and they call it Lanzarote, and they're just like, oh yeah, we went there. And they could have just had that bad experience. They could have stayed somewhere on a complex where, you know, it might not have been nice. They might just not have had a great experience, you know, either in a restaurant, or the weather can play a big part of it as well. You know, people will say, oh, I came here this time last year and the weather was terrible. So what I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the same experience as me, or I'm going to have the same experience as you. I know some people who took MOUNJARO for maybe 4 months and then that's it, they've stopped, they've come off it, they're happy with that. And there seems to be a bit of anticipation around how long you're going to stay on it for. I don't know as yet. I would just like to maybe get into my next stone bracket down, get way past that 3 stone weight loss, and then yeah, just see where I am. We've got a couple more holidays coming up. We've got Turkey next month, then we've got Lanzarote, and then we've got a little bit of time in July, so I'm not actually sure where we're going to go then. So yeah, so that is my chitty chat about the stigma around weight loss injections and why people feel they need to hide it. Is it the shame? I don't know. So let me know in the comments, do you take Mounjaro? Are you thinking of taking Mounjaro or a similar weight loss injection? Do you ever feel judged? How do you feel talking to people? So yeah, that is my little chitty chat today. I hope you have enjoyed being back with me. Thank you once again for giving me thumbs up and leaving me comments, and I love reading your comments and knowing where you're all watching from. That's all from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this little chitty chat, natter thing, whatever it is. That is all for me today. I'm off to Tesco's to go and do some shopping and decide what we're going to have for dinner. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye.